Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Vincent Minotti, and we are going to be installing my clutch pedal into my C5 Corvette. As many of you know, we're doing a manual swap in this car. It used to be automatic, so I didn't have a clutch pedal. We went and picked up a TIC Performance adjustable master cylinder. It looks like it's great quality. Everything feels super smooth, and I'm happy to say that I can actually adjust where my pickup point is for the clutch or pressure point. That basically says where the throwout bearing is going to engage and where it's not going to engage when you put your foot on the clutch. One of the really nice things is that they add in this protective or shielding to the line that goes to your throwout bearing, and then it's an AN fitting to the backside of your master cylinder. When I took off this little bushing, everything looks really nice in how they did it. It comes with two machine bolts. They are Allens. I don't exactly know what size Allen they are. I'm going to have to figure that out. Another thing, moving on to actually installing it, since we are doing a manual swap, I'm going to have to drill through the firewall with a 2-inch circle saw. That gives you just enough room. This is 2.5. It's not 2-inch, it is 2.5, so it'll give us a little extra room to put this through. We do not have the bracket that goes on there, so it's a kind of a bracket that has 3 studs on it. It's shaped almost in the way of this, but it kind of has some angle to it in the bracket. I'm going to nut and bolt it, so I picked up some M8 by 125 bolts along with some M8 by 125 nuts, and then I just added in some lock washers to make sure nothing, of course, comes loose. There is this little feed, I guess, to the cylinder. It comes with this nice little attachment, and to be able to tighten it down. I am going to be getting a reservoir here soon. I found one for Wilboro for 6 feet of line. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but the line is going to fit this, and it'll be a nice big reservoir so I can hold a decent amount of fluid in there. Of course, the more fluid that you have, the cooler that it's going to be. I don't know how true that's going to be with a clutch, but it might help, it might not, but at least I'll have a little extra. Another thing about TIC Performance is that they do an amazing job at listing and numbering every single step to be able to have an ease of an installation. In my case, I do have to use some mechanical knowledge because this is not a manual car. But if you do have a manual car, this is such an easy and simple upgrade for you to do, and just follow along with the list, and it should only take you about an hour. So we're all set up to cut out the hole for the master cylinder, but in a manual car, obviously you're not going to have to do this. That hole is already there. But in an automatic car, that hole is not there because there's no sense of having a hole when there's nothing there to fill it. So in an automatic car, you're going to have that shielding. It's kind of like a noise canceling slash fire protectant right behind the firewall. There's going to be a circle already there with like an insert of the same material in there. There's not going to be a hole like that. I used it for wires before with a little grommet, but for anyone else's case, that hole is not going to be there, and you will have to drill out this entire hole. So there is our hole. Clean that up with a little bit of sandpaper real quick. So this is going to be the hole that you are going to be left with, this little insert that's taken out, which can now go in the trash. I did clean it up with a little bit of sandpaper, so it does look a little bit better and cleaned off all the fiberglass. I did cut this little piece out of this corner so that it makes it easier. So this little piece right there, field focus, this little piece that goes right there, that adds on to all of the other foam in there, I took out, but the foam that's going to be going right underneath the master cylinder in this hole is still there. So before I go ahead and put in the clutch in its bracket, you have 1, 2, and 3. That is right back there, right above my finger. Those are where your bolts / studs, if you have the bracket, is going to go. And then the whole bracket is going to sit up in there, and you'll slide in your master cylinder back into that hole. Okay, so one thing that before you go ahead and install your master cylinder is you don't need to put back in the factory spring, because I guess this takes up for it now, and you don't need to use it, and you won't be reinstalling it. It does say it in the notes here. When you're putting this in, you have to think. So it's going to be setting just like this inside the car. Say this is the mounting bracket where my hand is. So it's going to go up against it like that, and it's going to set like this. So this back hole here, it has 2 diagonal holes. You're going to want to put your master cylinder into the big hole, and then think that once it's inside the car, it's going to be sitting just like this, and the access port is on the right side when looking this way at the back side of the clutch. So you're going to want to install it just like this, so you're able to access this port, and it's a little easier to access the end of it as well. So you're going to, once you have it inside of there, then you're going to take your 2 5/16 AN hole with a 5/16, or not AN, Allen, sorry. And you're going to thread those in to your 2 holes. Okay, so this is going to be your product as it's going to go into the car. So you can kind of judge that you don't want it all the way out here like this. Take this, wind it out. So once you have it semi-adjusted, you can see that there's a little nut inside there and a nut up here. You're going to crimp both of those down to make sure that it doesn't move in or out, because that little slide bar right here is what controls how far of play you have. So when you're looking at this side, you have this little stop in between here and here, and I don't exactly know where the recommended spot is for it, but I believe it's all just by feel. So once you have it in the car and you're about to go and drive around your neighborhood, and you figure out where you like it, and then you adjust it. For right now, I'm going to leave it just like this. I'm not going to put a snap ring in this yet. There is a certain retainer clip that if you've already had this and you're not doing a manual swap, that you'll have it. But me personally, I just went over to Ace Hardware. I got a little C-clip. C-clip fits right inside there. I can't remember what gauge it is, so you just have to bring it with you and figure out what gauge it is. But basically you take it, you pop it into that little thing. I've already test fitted it and it worked perfect. So now let's get to putting it inside the car. So it's about a day later after I shot that video. I did end up putting it up in the car and it fit pretty well. I didn't really have any issues with putting the clutch in. You can see the bolts right up inside of there. If I zoom in, you guys can probably see them just how it is, to be honest with you. But there's the first bolt, and then I might be able to get a little shot of the other bolts, but there is the master cylinder itself. Ooh. There's the master cylinder itself sitting up in there and then all connected. I did put that little C-clip in already, so that's up in there and retaining the master cylinder. One of the smaller things that I did end up having to deal with is the fact of putting in the manual brake pedal. So it did fit into the automatic assembly, but there is some fitment issues. I didn't try it out with the normal steering column in, but what I am going to do is I'm going to make another video on this, and I'm actually going to put a custom chrome moly shaft that comes up through here. It'll be a lot smaller. It does reduce about 20 pounds worth of weight, so that's a plus, and I should be able to connect up my quick release from NRG so I can retain the same wheel that I've had, which is a Sparco Alcantara wheel, which I do love that oh so much, especially with having cloth gloves on and racing, so that's really nice. But I had a light sitting over here, so I grabbed that real quick. This is what it's going to look like while it's sticking out of the hole. It was a 2-inch hole, and putting it through, it did rub a little bit, so make sure that you have this protecting rubber piece on your master cylinder. And I'm going to end up putting the hose on that fitting now that it's in the car, and then I'll just wrap that around down to the bottom over there. We do have my bleeder hose, which should be, so here's the bleeder hose. It is extremely long. It goes all the way back down there to where the throwout bearing is, but so I can pretty much put this wherever. I'll most likely end up putting it like right over here, just so it's out of the way and accessible where my reservoir is going to be going, which is in this general location. And then if I can shine a light down there, you can also see the connection to where you're going to be putting your master cylinder connection. So you're going to have the female end or the male end on that side. So the hose that is supplied with your master cylinder is a male end, and the other side is a female end. So you're going to have your AN side that's going to attach to the fitting onto the master cylinder, and then you'll have this, which will wrap underneath of your steering column shaft or above it and wrap around to be able to get to where the female side is for your throwout bearing, and that'll supply fluid to your throwout bearing. I'm going to leave this hose off for right now because we're going to be moving the car up and down, and the drivetrain is going to be lowered because we do have painting and grinding still to do in the engine bay, along with mounting my dry sump oil tank. But the next step for anybody who's putting this in is going to be putting the topper onto the master cylinder. So that little rubber plug that you're going to leave on when installing, you're going to take that off, take a Phillips head and put this on, and then tighten up the little clamp that's around it. That'll give you a seal, because underneath that rubber topper that is on the master cylinder has a rubber O-ring that will seal that off. Your hose will attach to here with a little clamp and then go up to your reservoir, and wherever you mount your reservoir, if you have a stock, If you have a stock car or a stock reservoir, it'll go where obviously it was, but if you don't and you're doing a manual swap like me, then it's going to go pretty much wherever you want it to, wherever it's convenient. Why it took an extra day to do this whole project is because I did take out the steering column. I'm going to end up putting in the chrome moly shaft and then adapting my NRG hub and quick release setup to that steering column. So it'll look a lot better, it'll be less weight, and there'll be a lot more room to add anything else or sensors or whatever I want to put inside there. That's why it's taken an extra day, is because when I took out the steering column, it was an extremely hard time getting the steering column out. And now that this pedal comes across like this, and there is things that hang off on it, so like that servo that's right there, and then all of the accessories that are down on the bottom, I don't think it's going to fit down inside of there. So now that I'm getting this straight through chromoly column, I'm going to end up doing a video on that. Hopefully I'll be able to keep this manual brake pedal in there, so then I don't have to take this pedal like most people do for their manual swaps. And basically you're going to take a die grinder or cutoff wheel, cut this down, and then what you do is you kind of shape it and it sets it off to the side. So you leave just enough meat so that it stays on, but now just this half is going to be your foot pedal. So instead of having to ruin this pedal when I could use it for something else and having to cut the entire thing off, which I think would end up making it weak, even though that this is nice, this is a nice weld in, and it's all, well, it's not really a weld in, it's just all one piece. I do feel like it makes the pedal really weak, and really jamming on this when in time attack or something like that, or you panic and you really push on it, I feel like you're going to end up cracking it or something like that. And I don't want to be on a road course, not realize it's cracked, and then I go to push on it and it breaks and my foot falls through, and then you end up crashing. So that'll end off this video installing my clutch pedal and my TIC Performance Master Cylinder. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see the rest of the videos that are going to be coming out. I'm installing my column and a little sneak peek of my roll cage that is currently going in. So those videos will be up on the channel. Just keep an eye on it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.